Let's talk about null pointer exception. I know if you're a Java programmer, you're quite familiar with null pointer exceptions. Well, I'll tell you what, I had a lot in my career. Well, let me explain one here. This is a nice little trick that a good friend of mine, Ben, told me about. When you have a constant, always put your constant here and not here. Why? This won't throw an exception, but this one will. Let me explain. In this case here, when input is null, it goes in here, and the equals function, which is part of the Java lang string, will compare. If the argument is not null and it is a string, it will do a compare. But if it's a null, it'll just say false. It won't throw an exception. Now down here, in this case, if input is null, that means it's not referencing anything. And if it's null, equals is not going to be valid. This will throw an exception, even though you have a constant here. This is how I used to write code all the time until my friend Ben told me, nope, you should write it this way. It's much safer. Key is you have a constant. Now in the case when you don't have a constant, down here, if this is a variable, and let's say this were a variable, you would have to put a guard in front of this. Let's run the test and just see how this works. So in our test, we have a failing bad null with null inputs. Look at the actual tests themselves. So here's the test bad is null with null input. So here's null coming in. I'm passing null instead of a string. So you can see up here I'm passing null, and this one passed fine. That's because it's the good is null test. Remember, the good is null has the constant here. In this case here, it's going to throw an exception. Now the exception it throws is Java lang null pointer, and it's because input is null. So what you want to do is you always want to put your constant in the front. Now how do you put a guard around this without having to put a try catch? Well, to put a guard, you simply say input not equal null and input equals data. The way this works is if this is true, in other words, input is not equal to null, it will then continue on and try to test the condition after the and. In Java, whenever you have an and such as this, it will continue doing ands one after the other. So I hope this helps, and I hope it makes sense. Let me know in the comments. Thank you.